This is a quicksort. In this sort, our array has 7 elements. We assign the middle value, yellow, to be a pivot, a point that other values will be compared to. We label the first value in the array, pink, as I, and the last value in the array, blue, as j. This sort will essentially compare the values of items to the pivot and swap them to get all items smaller than the pivot on the left side and all items bigger on the right side. We will check if the values at I and j are both in the wrong place. I starts on pink, but it's less than yellow, which is correct. So we increment I. J is on blue, which is greater than yellow, which is correct, so we must decrement j. I has moved to green, which is greater than yellow, the pivot. J has moved to white, which is yet less than yellow. Since both values are out of order, we can swap them. Now we can increment I and decrement j. I has become purple, and j has become orange, which are greater than and less than yellow respectively. Because both values are out of place, we can swap them. We can now increment I and decrement j. I isn't greater than j yet, so we must do this one more time until purple becomes I and orange becomes j. Here we see that I and j have crossed. I is greater than j, so the phase is over and yellow is locked in. We can now separate the array into 2 subsections, values to the left of j inclusive and values to the right of I inclusive. Working on the left-hand side, we reassign the pivot I and j. Pink becomes I, white becomes the pivot, and orange becomes j. Pink is greater than white, so we keep I on pink. Orange is greater than white, so we decrement j. We can now swap pink and white, with white staying as the pivot. We can increment I and decrement j. Since the 2 values have swapped, we know the phase is over and white is locked in. The next phase has 2 values, pink and orange. Pink is I and the pivot, and orange is j. They're both in the right place, so we increment I and decrement j. I is now greater than j, so the phase is over and pink is locked in. We can now compare just orange. Since it is an array of length 1, it is automatically sorted and orange is locked in. We can now change our focus to the right side, where purple becomes I, green becomes the pivot, and blue becomes j. I is purple and greater than green, the pivot, so I stays there. J is blue and greater than green, so we decrement j. We can now swap purple and green, with green staying as the pivot. We can now increment I and decrement j. I is now greater than j, so the phase is over and green is locked in. Purple now becomes I and the pivot, and blue becomes j. I is purple and greater than blue, so we swap purple and blue, with purple staying as the pivot. We then increment I and decrement j. I is now greater than j, so the phase is over and purple is locked in. Blue is an array of length 1, which is automatically sorted, so it is locked in. The phase is done and the sort is complete.